So I have all this space. I have sorted, quote unquote, basically everything in my living room except for that bin there, which still has to be sorted, washed, and sorted again. It's from all that valuable stuff, and I'm just gonna leave that for now because I want to get into other things. So I went into this box after I finished. Well, let's just quickly show you the room. So there's still stuff on the floor over there. Those are sets that I have to put in the totes and throw in the garage. And do something with this stuff. I'm going to start downsizing parts and pieces I do not need or will ever use, like all the 10x20 base plates. I think I talked about that. If I didn't, I'm sorry. I'll talk about it in a later video. But and the tires. So this is not an addendum to the big box sort and sorting everything. Since look at all this stuff on the floor, I have to vacuum in here. Yeah, things just get stuck behind there. This is the basement. So when I was finished sorting, of course, I had access to this box. Box number 2, and you can see the number 2 there. 2079 is, of course, a very significant number in the classic space community. It came on both 6x5 bricks. I don't know what it stands for. 2079 a year? I don't know. Anyway, microgramma font. There's another font that's, some people say it's closer to the classic space font, but microgramma is what I used, and it looks good enough for me. And of course, that was done on my Cricut and then painted. It was a stencil, and of course the wood, but it doesn't matter, it looks good. And it's empty because I hauled whatever was in there and put it on my desk. So what was in there was this guy and this guy. So this is one of my favorite things ever, my landing pad. I think it's my favoriteest thing I've ever built, really. And then I took that circle and I put it everywhere. So, I do like how the landing pads turned out. I always will. I think, wow, the 4x9 wings, as you know, I have tons of. So I hauled it out just to make sure, first of all, it's still working. And of course, it was slightly broken, but I put all the pieces back together. LH, Lunar Habitat 01. Of course, it's only a habitat building, and so this is, and of course, well, let's get this guy. Put it on top. There you go. That's what happens. And this is something I noticed a lot, and I used to do it all the time, is they would have a landing pad raised like that, and then how is the guy supposed to get off the top? How is he supposed to go somewhere? So I always make sure there's an elevator or something so the person, the astronauts, the pilots can get somewhere. So we'll leave that as is for now. Because besides my series of reviewing classic space, that's my other thing, is to finish or get as close as possible to finish, if anything's ever finished in a big mock. The layout all done, so this piece was very convenient for me to look at. The highlights are the EL wire here, obviously, and the EL wire here. These landing pips light up, and I removed the 1x1. I'm still not 100% sold on this, but I removed the 1x1 round transgred and transgreen round bricks and substituted. First of all, it was just the round trans plate on top of the holes, but then the light wasn't shining, so I got those 1x1 round plates that have hollowed out center stud, and that seemed to work better. That's one thing about this, is this thing's got a little bit of a bow to it. That's not from the roundness, that's from the reinforcement underneath. So I'm not saying you can stand on this. You know, I'm really not saying you can stand on this, but it's pretty strong. I got Technic beams going across on the 90 degrees, and then I think every other one I have irradiating in like a spoked wheel, just to reinforce the top. And then you always hear this. the sound that most Lego fans are used to when they're working with big projects. Things do get, oh, there's, the other thing I was doing is I was replacing, because I didn't have enough 4x6 windows when I originally built this. I hardly had any, and so as I get 4x6 windows in lots, I had 3. There's the third one, but I just put those 2 in, and I removed the 1x4 trans yellow tech bricks, and so those are only 4 windows I have left. I'll get them at some point. I only have 1 more to go, one spare 4x6 blue window frame. So, and you can also see, because I want to show you this. This is jealouspanda.com. They will engrave stuff into your glass. Now, I don't engrave it on all the windows, as you can see, but I do engrave it on some of the windows because I think it looks really, really cool. And there's a method to my madness here. You can see there's gaps there, so you press on that, and hopefully the gaps go away. I use the canopies as well. And I use the canopies, like this is out 2 studs from this. This is cut back in so the monorail doesn't get caught. Because if you build straight up here, the monorail, even if it's 4 wide, it's gonna get caught on that corner. So this corner here, the monorail track comes out straight, so the monorail won't hit it. But of course, this corner here, the monorail goes all the way around. So all this has to be indented 2 studs. So that's what that is. And it worked out perfectly well on the 4x9 wing plates, because the wing plates are, and you can see them, they're all here, the gray wing plates. And they come out to the edge of the monorail track. Like, it's uncanny when I discovered that the 4x9 circle there, using the wing plates, 36 wing plates, at the exact diameter of the inside of the monorail loop. Monorail curves. If you put 4 curves together, it fits right on top. And you can see that, right? It's just worked out perfectly. The mathematics, Deborah would like that. The mathematics of Lego math, that the inside diameter of the monorail, if you put 4 circles together, is exactly the same as if you have a 4x9 circle made out of wing plates. I think I've mentioned that before. So the issue, of course, obviously, is that if you do right to the edge, like the wing plate comes right to the edge of this thing and built straight up, the monorail is actually going to hit that wall. So you have to have it indented, and so that's what this is. This is indented 2 studs and comes out 2 studs at the top. And same here, comes out, and here comes up, because there is monorail supposed to be here. But when there's no monorail looped around, I can put the straight up pillars, right? And that means that I have to get the glass to come back to the inside, and that's why I use the canopies. So that's why, exactly. Now, historically, you can see underneath here. Let me just get underneath here. I use the inverted 2x3s, and that works perfectly fine. I mean, I could have done the whole thing with these windows, but then I'm getting a lot more windows, and I have a ton of canopies, and I don't have too many windows. And you can see I've done interiors now. So inside these are staterooms or bunkies. Each person has their own room. There's a bed there. There's a bed, and there's a computer console, and this is the hangar where they put all the space gear. And you can see this person, she's working on a computer. See, so she's working on a computer in there, and then her spacesuit is hanging up on the wall there. So yeah, I went into that kind of detail in this. No, it's not all greebled and stuff like that, where a lot of people do that. And then you got these big staterooms that have 2 bunks in them. And the guy's sleeping, and he has a spacesuit hanging up on the wall over there. And this guy's working on the computer console. So, and the main floor is just a warehouse / storage area, and you can see that. And so you got, forget the pirate flag in the back. So you got all these guys working in the zone here, because the train comes through here and it offloads stuff. So space train, not regular train. And then on one side of this entire unit, this entire habitat building, turn it all the way around. I should have gone the other way because I'm at 270 degrees instead of 90. Is where they wait for the monorail. So you got layer 3, layer 2, layer 1, and layer 0. And these guys are just waiting for the monorail. So, and of course, there's a Benny. I don't know how many Bennies I have laying around my layout, but I have lots of Bennies around the layout. And other little Easter eggs. It's as I don't want to use agreeable. It's as detailed as they want it to be. This was a tougher one because what you have to do is if you want to go, this is again the 4x9 wing plate, and I wanted it to be in the back with the wall, so you have to like the back of a 4x9 wing plate is 3 studs wide, but they only have 2 studs on it in the center. So what I did is, of course, this is spanning 1 wing plate, and this is just a 2 studs and then spanning, and so it all works out the 3 studs each, but it's 4 2 4 2 4 2 all the way across, and then the every so often I put a 2x2 pillar just to reinforce it because these things are pretty weak on that one, and it comes all the way down. I do like to have, I forget what the engineering term is, the load bearing all the way down, so you can like push on it, but of course you can't push down here because there's nothing underneath here to hold that up. So you have to be slightly careful moving this thing around. It is pretty solid because again I basically build with basic brick. So and then the doors, my favorite doors. Chris and Mark were doing that for the Moonbase modular, and so I ran with that because I think it's an absolutely fantastic door. Just five bricks tall, yeah. So so there's all the doors to get back into the base, and then if you look behind, you'll see a lot of tables and chairs. It's the rec area, the eating area, the living area, and you have all the rooms around on the outside periphery, and each floor has that. I was going to separate all the floors to do different things. I just didn't have time. Like one was going to be like the weight room, and one's going to be the office space, and blah blah. But this is a habitat, so this is where they're habitating, where they're living, where they're eating and dining, and blah blah blah. Oh, there's the other Benny from Lego Movie 2. Again, you have to look for these things, they're Easter eggs. So, but the last thing I wanted to show you, and I didn't bring the oh my goodness, that's again 270 degrees instead of 90. It's all the way in the back. So this is really quick. This is the monorail, the copper. This is why this one building is in the house and the rest of them are not, because this one has copper and I don't have to remove the top layer is not copperized yet. So, but these two are, or this one is, sorry. So it will run using a train controller, which I think is fantastic. And even in RCX, which is what I have it doing now, I have the RCX LDCC, or just the RCX itself, powering the rails, which will stop and start the actual train. But the important thing beyond all that stuff that I have to finish, I got a lot to finish before I'm happy with the finished product. And of course, then I'll rip it apart and start something new. Is the wiring. And the wiring gets, I won't say tedious, because I think it's fun. I really do. Now, I have taken this whole thing apart half a dozen times now, built right back down to the foundation, built a stronger, better, stronger, I said that already, and with more detail, because before it was just a shell with nothing inside, completely hollow. And then I wanted to add the main level with all the stuff, with all the boxes and stuff, the sundries, as they say. But then I started adding the details in the second, third, and fourth floor. But then I wanted to do wiring. So it came again to do the wiring. So so this thing has been taken apart a half a dozen times originally. So this is where the wiring plugs in. Now I was going to hide this by a little door here that would hide this when I wasn't doing. Look at, there's stuff in that brick. There we go, it's coming off. I was going to hide the wiring better, but you don't see this because the front of the layout's on this side, so you're looking this way, so you'd have to like look around the building to see this, and it's pretty tiny. There are two things sitting there. One is for, and this is a huge cheat that I started on this building alone, is instead of using Rob Hendricks, sorry Rob, instead of using Rob Hendricks, because this was a quick hack, straight up it was a quick hack. Instead of using Rob Hendricks life lights, the local electronics superstore down the street was selling 12 volt LED lights kits, basically. It came with a wall wart that put out 12 volts and 2 LEDs, bright, stupid, bright LEDs. And then you can cut them up and solder them into various things. I made dive lights with them, and I might do a video on that someday. But I made dive lights with them, and I thought, I had a show, and I can't remember which show, whichever, and I had to get this done quickly, and I did not have enough life lights to light up each floor. So basically, I just went out and I already had 5 or 6 kits of those LEDs, so I just put one per floor, and it lights up the entire floor. Now, I will also say they are stupid bright, and you cannot do the fine work that you can do with Rob Hendricks life lights. Like, I will say, none of these rooms are lit up, which I would have done if I had life lights in there. And so, what I will say also, is this is me with my bad soldering job. 2 of these prongs are 12 volts. Oh, look at that melted back in. And 2 of these are going to be 3 volt for the Rob Hendricks life lights. But right now, they're just 12 volts, and they plug into here. And then you see, it's lit up inside, and you can see right there, a 12 volt LED that shines on the main floor. And I did that for every other floor, and I'm going to see if I can turn off. I guess I can't turn off. So you can see now the interior really nicely. And you can see the people milling around. So that's one 12 volt right in the middle, doing all that. Now again, there's nothing in the rooms. There's no light in the room, but the light comes through the door. So I wasn't worried too much about that. So that's the 12 volt. And then the other plug-in, and this is where Rob Hendricks life lights do come in. And this is my hack, which I did another video on years ago. I'm gonna turn that off, and I'm gonna turn this off. Is I wish I don't think the phone allows me to turn off the